What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live broadcast of the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devindra. This week, joined by podcast producer Ben Elman. Hey, Ben.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, folks. Good to see folks here in December as things are winding down. I see Mark Dell, Wes Jackson, Mayra, Gabriella, Simmix, Deepro9. Hello, folks. McCluskey. You've all basically answered the question of, of what our discussion will be, but
Yeah.
we're gonna have a good chat. Yeah. And yeah, in for those waiting, Will Smith is coming. Will Smith is coming at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. He's on the West Coast. He is very much on the pretty much the coast of San Francisco, I think. So,
Oh, wow.
he's 3 hours behind. So I'm giving we like to give our West Coast guests a little more time to jump in. But we've got a lot of news, got a lot of stuff to dive into. We'll have some time to talk with you all in chat. Hello, Dr. Poop,
Dr. Poop.
Lucky Dog Podcast.
No, that's Dr. Dupe. D00P.
I see poop, but yeah, that's even better name.
Dr.
Oh
Poop.
man, what's up, everybody? I see everybody here. Yeah, so we, for first timers, we're going to go through a bit of news. We're basically recording our audio podcast, and then we'll take some breaks, do some Q&A. Typically, we like our guests way up front, but you have to wait a bit for the good West Coasters.
Yeah, you have to be nice to those people because you can't say, we need you at 6:30 a.m.
Or 7:30. It's not nice. Not a great thing to do. And
We're
yeah,
not ABC News here. We're not CNN.
we're not CNBC, who used to make me get up at like 5 a.m. to get to their New York studio. That was always fun. Yeah, I'm excited to see Will here too, Mark. I've been watching and reading Will stuff forever, so it's gonna be fun.
Wes Jackson says, will DJ Jazzy Jeff be here too? No. If he
There
comes into the house, we're giving
would
him the
be
bum's rush. Ah!
it would be Jeff Gersman or one of the other like video game or tech people who could be Jazzy Jeff. And actually, Jeff Gersman, who I love and also followed forever, is a big old school rap guy. So I'm sure he would love to be called podcast Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah, Dpro is right. Everybody hit that like button as we
Please.
get closer to like actually starting the podcast. I'll remind you. Maybe actually we'll do that right now. So if you've been on the stream before, you know what's going to happen. If you haven't, we'll count down from 3. Everybody on the stream, so me and Devindra, are going to clap our hands or snap our fingers because that helps me figure out where the files start. And you at home or in the chat can also like put a clap fingers emoji, clap fingers, a clap hands or snap fingers emoji or a clapperboard emoji in the chat because that's always fun to see. So let's count down from 3, 2, 1, and some silence. I'll let you know when the silence is over. Okay, silence over.
Sounds over. Let me set up a screen share here because I did not do that yet. So just so we have that set up, muted. All right, chat, let's get to it. There's, you know, we're basically all just prepping for CS, but there is in fact some news. So we'll be diving into all that stuff. Okay. Let's go in 3.
Oh yeah, one
Yep.
well actually one thing before we launch into this.
Yep.
Can you do the top of the show a little bit slower? Cuz I've been cutting things in the audio version to a, make it so that there's a little bit more space between like Engadget Podcast like so many words just run together. So
So that's all fine. I'm also trying to get through it quickly so we
yeah.
can get out
Yeah.
of there. But okay. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devindra. This week, joined by podcast producer Ben Elman. Hey, Ben.
Hello everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's gonna be a special episode this week because we've got special guest Will Smith coming on, not the actor. Will Smith, the tech podcaster and tech journalist who does Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod and all that fun stuff. We're going to be talking about the sad state of the RAM industry. I think we're probably just going to be recording this straight through. So take a look at the timestamp for when that section will start. This week, we're going to start up with some news. But as always, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. leave us a review on iTunes, and drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. And we love your commentary. We'd love to get more questions in here. Your questions may be used for the Ask Engadget section of the site too, so it could get published on Engadget if you actually contribute. Also, Thursday mornings we typically do a live stream around 11:30. Sorry, Thursday mornings, we typically do a live stream around 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Join us for that. We sometimes have gadgets to show off. We definitely have time for Q&A, and you can see our lovely faces. So that's always a fun time. So yeah, as I said, let's just get right into news this week. We'll have our RAM discussion. Don't worry, folks. But I think one of the funniest things I saw this week landed this morning right before we started recording. Mark Zuckerberg apparently is planning deep cuts for all the metaverse initiatives over at Meta, and I don't think that's too surprising, right? So apparently they had their like annual company retreat in Hawaii. They were talking about the money they need to save, across several departments. And it seems like the metaverse stuff, Reality Labs, which also is tied to the VR, stuff that they do, the Quest headsets. There are going to be some deep cuts there, lots of layoffs. We also don't see Mark Zuckerberg talking very much about the metaverse anymore. So I don't think that's super, super surprising. I think Ben, as somebody who is not a metaverse fan, maybe not as much into the VR world, does this make it like did any of this make sense to you as to why they did this?
So I'm always thinking in context
Hmm.
of things. And when they did the name change to Meta, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
This was also around the um, Francis Hagen Halgan
Hmm.
release of information about how Facebook might be bad for teens,
Yeah.
and Facebook had already been getting a lot of criticism from the right and the left, but
Yeah.
a lot from the right for censorship and all of this. So my thought is not so much that, you know, Zuck is doing like a real dilettante move of being like, oh, metaverse is so cool. No, actually, this other thing, AI stuff is so cool. The switch to Meta might have been a like Mad Men, it's toasted moment
Oh yeah.
of like, we're not Facebook. We're so much more than Facebook. Facebook is just one of our project. Facebook is just one of our products, and we don't want to be defined by that. So we'll just do a switcheroo for this, the name of the company, and Facebook will now go under the Meta holding company name. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I mean, we literally had that discussion when this name change was announced, I believe, on this very show. Like, it was very transparent what was happening, that Facebook was in trouble, Zuckerberg was under fire, and that was part of when he started having his whole like Zen reinvention, his like hippie reinvention, I think.
Hmm.
Where also he learned to offload responsibility. He doesn't have to feel responsible for the bad things his company does. He's just going to ignore that, and he's going to stop apologizing. I think he said he would stop apologizing later, but yeah, this was all clearly, it felt like a response. Like, we're not just Facebook. We are not really a social media company. We're in VR. We're making a metaverse, and that was his pitch before AI became the thing. That was clearly the next step. I think what we discussed back then is a lot of people were looking at like, what is the next step of the technology industry beyond smartphones and tablets and mobile and everything. Meta had bet a lot on VR, like with by buying Oculus, by pouring tens of billions of dollars into VR. That was their thing for years and years. Never really went anywhere. I think the Quest headsets as standalones, making them cheaper, those are really cool products. I think there's some really cool experiences there. They're not really super mainstream. There's a lot of commentary that people don't use them as much, and they also have to subsidize those things to make them really cheap too, which is why they raised the prices recently. So all that comes down to like, oh, VR is not really the thing. People got so hyped over ChatGPT and Bing search when that happened, like when Bing got the AI upgrade. It felt like Meta was behind, so now they're pivoting to everything AI, right? And that's
I
just the
mean,
way it goes sometimes in the tech world.
but in the sense,
Hmm.
like there's still like the Orion AR glasses, and like that I think is a skunk works project for them.
Yeah.
Like that is a, we're just going to send this boat out into the great beyond and we'll see
Mhm.
whether or not this ends up being really useful, or if it just ends up developing a lot of technology that maybe they can
Mhm.
license out whenever people actually start getting interested in the possibility of AR.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly more of an AI device than anything else. So yeah, Meta's experience in VR, building those headsets, and also building the stuff like the Ray-Ban Meta glasses too. Like it turns out people don't want to be trapped in VR, like in virtual environments, unless you're in like a niche, you're a niche person using VR chat and hang out with online friends there. But people aren't really taking work meetings in VR. They're not exploring VR environments the way Meta assumed they would, sort of like Ready Player One. Um, but the AI devices, which is what the Orion glasses basically are, and what AR glasses will have to rely on AI for like visual processing, computational processing, a lot of computer vision stuff, the translation, all those things are going to lean more into AI. So Meta's actually in a really unique place, right? Because they've built headsets, they have that experience, they've built sunglasses with headphones and cameras. Now they just need to add the AI layer onto it. But it turns out what people want is like stuff to use in the real world and stuff to use to help AI make sense of it and not just being trapped in VR, right? I think that's where they missed a little bit.
And then I also want to bring in Meta's hiring of Alan Dye.
Hmm.
He is a designer, and is it mostly hardware, or is it
He
mostly
was
like
software,
interface
so
design? Okay,
he
you
was
yeah,
one of
software
the lead
interface design,
software
but
interface designers at Apple. So that's the key. And
that's
essentially poached them from Apple. Hmm.
that still makes sense that
Hmm.
excuse me, sorry, I got confused. I'm okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I was having an issue with the directing software. So let's go back in.
Hmm.
Actually, can you say what you said, like the last couple of sentences, and then I'll
Sure.
respond to that?
Oh yeah, so you're talking about Alan Dye, who is the Apple, uh, one of a prominent Apple designer who was mostly working on software interfaces since 2015. He's been the head of Apple's user interface design team. Meta essentially just poached him. He's going to be going to Meta to work on all sorts of stuff. It turns out, like he's going to be one of the AI consumer device design leads. So that's going to be hardware, software, interface stuff. Um, there that's interesting. It's interesting that Meta's at a place where somebody at Apple's like, oh, they're doing more interesting work over here. I should probably check out what's happening. So yeah, clearly something
I
interesting.
would really love to believe that. I would love to
Yeah.
believe that people always go for the more interesting projects. You can never really tell whether or not someone just backed a dump truck of money into their driveway, though.
Hmm. I mean,
Um,
that could be it too. That could certainly be it. But let's also say Alan Dye, Apple's user interface over the last decade, which he has been leading, people have not been fawning over that stuff. There have been a lot of complaints from Apple diehards and also from regular users. Like I don't, the most recent thing is like the liquid glass redesign,
Yep,
which
yep, exactly. Yeah, I
it
know a
does look
lot of
really cool.
people
Yeah,
in many different generations
yeah.
who have been unhappy with the liquid
Mhm.
glass redesign.
Yeah.
It's not just some of the like older folks that I work with, because any UI change is really confusing. Like
Hmm.
down to like other tech people that I speak with, they're like, "Man, this is like really not it."
Hmm. I mean, what clearly happened there? It feels like the Apple was pushing for a major design refresh. They want something new and exciting and different. And I will say, I like the way liquid glass looks. I like the way like some of the pointers are like hovering over a thing, and it looks like you're holding a little pebble over text. Like the flourishes are nice. The functionality still leaves some to be desired. Like I see people complaining about like just using Apple Music now takes a couple more taps and clicks in it than it
Hmm.
used to get to certain things. What are we willing to trade off for beauty versus form and function? I think in when it came to liquid glass, they leaned more on the beauty side of things, and I can't blame them. Like these phones are sitting here with like world class graphics processing units, and for the most part, they're just kind of sitting there. Most people aren't playing games all the time. What if
Hmm.
you took a little bit of that power and just like gave your screen an extra polish, and also an extra polish in a way that Android doesn't do things because Android still has most Android skins are essentially very flat. So I could see why Apple made this thing. It's gotten better over time. I've done the betas. There were some instances where Liquid Glass looked really bad, and they've given people more ways to fine tune it, turn off transparencies, lower the transparency. So it's been okay. But yeah, Alan Dye has not had like a famed run at Apple since Johnny Ive left, I'd say.
Yeah, looking at the chat, Wes Jackson says
Mhm.
this never would have happened in the Jobs years. He hated talent poaching.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Jobs died in 2011. He was like drawing down his commitment to Apple before that. And right around the same time is when tech investment went bananas.
Hmm.
So, yeah, he can hate talent poaching all he wants, but like, I don't know if he would have been able to do anything to stem the flow of people going to the new hot startups and unicorns when, people could make second house money
Hmm.
pretty easily in the like early 2010s. Then
Yeah.
there's another comment from Lucky Dog Podcast who says, I've heard more criticism about liquid glass than expected.
Hmm.
Same here. It's really surprising. But getting back to Meta and Dai leaving Apple for Meta, of course, Meta putting all of this investment in their AI products would they need someone to make it fun to interact with.
Just to make
And
it good, make it useful, and somebody who has experience. Like that's the thing.
regardless of
Hmm.
recent criticism of the way Apple has been, not totally killing it,
Hmm.
like its track record is on interface design, it's still a storehouse of some of the best interface designers in the business.
Definitely.
So it makes sense that they would go fishing in that pond.
Yeah, and if you who is making the best design product right now, it's Apple. So you want to get a bit of that juice. When I see companies trying to get into hardware now, even like freaking, I just bought a new trash can from Simple Human. Simple Human's boxes, their design, everything. They're like, oh, we're the Apple of trash cans, and they are. So I took advantage of that sale because they make beautiful trash cans. But it's the polished aluminum, all the stuff that Apple sells you on, even the way they box things all. I think there was a design in the US thing on the trash can box. Everybody wants to be Apple, wants to have that product experience. So totally makes sense. I do kind of wonder what Meta is working on here. This could be the hardware could be like the new whatever Orion is when it becomes a full-fledged product, or as Ray-Ban, the Ray-Ban displays, the one that has a little screen right now, as that evolves, so they could be working on some of that stuff. Whatever they're working on is at least more interesting than the like pure AI device that we're hearing murmurs about from OpenAI, which Johnny Ive is directly working on and designing. So that is kind of interesting too. We talked about that really weird video between
It's
Johnny Ive and Sam Altman where they were like, "Oh man, I love you. I respect you so much," and it was the most awkward thing I've ever seen. We don't know what the product is. The rumors are that it's like a little device that sits around you and like will summarize your day maybe, or has a camera and can interpret things for you. We don't know. I
it
have
sounds
zero
like it's
clue.
souped up Alexa or something, like it's going to be a
Alexa or
voice
the
assistant.
Rabbit or the what was the thing that Cherlin reviewed?
Yeah, the Rabbit R1
What
and
was the name of the thing? The other one. We don't even
um
remember anymore.
oh yes, the one also designed by
Yeah.
Apple alums.
Yes.
Um, um, oh, darn, that's a good
I'll
question.
look it up. But that's kind of where we're at, right? Everybody's like, oh, now the race is on to make the hot AI gadget that everybody wants. It's going to replace our smartphones or whatever. I'm putting like money down. I don't think that's ever happening. I feel like the smartphone PCs themselves may go away. Like desktop form factors will change, laptops will change. The smartphone, that's the main thing. Yes, Mark Dell says humane. It's the
Yeah,
humane
humane,
AI.
humane. Yes, that's right.
What a disaster that was. And yeah, all the commentary from the CEOs too being like, "Oh, we didn't really fail." There's a whole lot of just like AI bullshit going on there. Um, Whatever Meta's working on, Apple, they have some good Apple designers. Apparently, Alan Dye also brought over one of his like deputies onto Meta as well, so
Of
they can
course.
poach multiple people. You know, we also have another story from Apple too, like which makes it seem like things are not going so good for Apple, at least when it comes to employing people. This week, Apple announced, was it this week? Yeah. They announced that the AI executive, John Gianandrea, the person who's been in charge of like Apple's AI push over the last few years, is retiring. He's going to be replaced by Amar Subramanya, a longtime Google exec who was most recently corporate VP of AI at Microsoft. And yeah, they're going to be Apple's new AI VP. Gina Andrea, like there's been a lot of commentary around them and their and basically how he led Apple, basically not pushing the company hard enough to build their own models and not really taking the threat of like what was coming from OpenAI seriously. So there's going to be some shakeup there. I'm also of the opinion like I think a lot of this is more headline stuff than stuff that actually matters to users. Because oh my God, Apple doesn't have have competition to Copilot. Oh no, what they're so far behind Copilot. You know, when it came to like bringing in some AI stuff, they had to like partner with OpenAI and bring that into Siri search and everything. Maybe they could have been a little faster there, but I say this often. I am very happy that Apple's the like company who doesn't have to jump on every single trend because they tend to sit back and see like how things play out and let the like early kinks of new software trends happen. Like this happened with MP3 players. It's happened with literally pretty much every product that they jump into and almost end up owning that ecosystem. So I never thought this was a huge problem for Apple, but it's a problem for Apple's stock price because people feel like Apple's behind. So that's why it becomes a problem for the company, even if the products it's we're not seeing world-class AI products in too many other places other than people really liking ChatGPT.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
it feels like one of the big utilities of OpenAI is that it's like a shiny pin that you can put on your company saying,
Yeah.
we're adopting the future. And so Apple tried to put that pin on and then was like, wait, crap. We can't just like rely on OpenAI for all of this stuff. We also have to like build our own models. And they weren't even ready for the OpenAI
I think
integration.
they kind of knew that. So I was there at WWDC. That was last year as they were like starting to announce Apple Intelligence. And it was clear like they were working on stuff, but they didn't have the model as baked as OpenAI did, ready to launch and everything. That's also what led to the delay of the super smart Siri, too, right? Like
Hmm.
part of the problem, Apple has egg on its face because last year they said, "Hey, we have this super smart Siri coming," and we waited and waited, and it just didn't happen. And Apple's not a company who tends to fail publicly like that. They may fail in private. They may try things out and things don't work out. Like the Apple Car, there's been a lot of like stories about internally what was happening around the Apple Car. They never came out and said, "Hey, we got this thing coming. It's gonna be really cool." So they never really had to fail publicly with that. The Vision Pro is another one of those where it's like they announced this thing, it's not doing as well as people think, but it doesn't matter how good the product actually is if it's seen as something that's a failure.
I
So
mean, the big thing is that they
yeah,
have enough money to fail in private. They
yes,
can
yeah.
put a lot of capital into something like an Apple car and it can
Mhm,
never see the light of day. And that's totally okay because they have iTunes and the iPhone and like everything else is not only covering for it in a PR sense, but also
mhm,
covering the costs of taking a big swing and it not working out. Other companies don't have that luxury and they need to work things out in public, which
mhm.
is its own like um anxiety producing kettle of fish.
It's also like how products are being done right now too. Like a lot of the AI stuff is just like, hey, this is out in beta. Hey, we're just testing this. I'm currently writing about like the state of Copilot Plus. I'll talk about a bit of that later, but I've talked to Microsoft executives and they're still like, yeah, AI is good, but it's needs some work. There's an admission that AI stuff is not fully cooked, even though these folks want to hype it up so much. Like oh yeah, it's going to replace the way you do so much work. It's I don't know if that's really happening as much as they think or as much as they want.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck in our same like AI skeptic rut. So let's start
It's a
talking
good
about
rep. It's a good rep
cars.
because we should be saying it. It's true. We should
Yes,
be saying
but
it.
we say it's
It's
just
fine.
funny that
I want to
the
play
Engadget
devil ad-
Podcast. Thank you to our listeners for listening to,
Yeah,
us being AI skeptics. But we do spend a lot of time being AI skeptics every episode,
that's
and
totally fine. Like, listen, Mr. Edzitron, who's become a very famous podcaster, that's his entire shtick now.
it's
And
true.
I love Ed. I've been on Ed's show. I've known him for a long time, and there is also clearly I don't even think we need to apologize for it, Ben, because there's
Okay,
a
actually,
demand from
no.
people.
If I want to make things a little more interesting and have
Yes.
a slight AI like non-skeptic sidebar, I saw something really interesting on Blue Sky
Mhm.
yesterday. um, there was a person who works for a tech company who said that their Discord support agent, their like LLM based
Yeah.
support agent, was kind of annoying. So they asked them to pretend to be a 58-year-old systems administrator from Ohio that
Yep.
wrote on forums a lot. And that works. There are men in their 50s and 60s who write on forums a lot, who are so knowledgeable.
Hmm.
There are a couple of them on my radio forums. Like, you ask a question and they will tell you from first principle
Hmm.
how everything works,
Oh,
to
I
the
love the
point
old
where
forums.
sometimes they
Yeah.
get accused of like mansplaining a whole thing. But like, no, these guys are just really knowledgeable and like excited to be
They're
able
excited that
to,
somebody's interested in
yeah,
their
excited that
solution.
somebody's interested in like their really niche thing. So
Yeah.
the idea of telling an LLM, here is the persona we want you to take on,
Hmm.
and then having that make a more helpful agent for Discord or anything else, fascinating. I love that. That's, I think, a great use of LLMs that are, everywhere now. It seems like we've done a lot of work in like making the models bigger and trying to cram it into absolutely everything with Copilot and whatnot.
Hmm.
But like the way that users interact with it and like the strategies for refining getting the best possible information, that's still in its infancy, and that's something that is not quite a tech problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I will also say that everything is in its infancy right now. Like, we should be taking steady steps into what this is because, hey, I have said AI has been useful to me in certain things. When it comes to transcribing audio, do you know
Oh
what a
yeah.
nightmare transcribing audio is? Like, just such an annoying, repetitive task. And you can do that now locally with AI models on your computer. You could do that with services like Descript. I think AI as a tool, as like a human pointing to a thing and saying, fix that, that is great. The stuff we're seeing in Photoshop, the background removals you're seeing that's built into the Apple Photos app. So I'm not considering myself completely anti AI. I am considering myself very much anti generative AI. I'd say so. Like, I occasionally search on Google
Anything that
Docs or
replaces an
ChatGPT.
artist or a writer,
Anything that
maybe.
replaces artists, yes. Anything that replaces a human experience, I'm fundamentally against that stuff. So yeah, I see. Let me see. I see you deleted a message, Dpro9, but I saw what you said, and I'm gonna say it out loud here. I occasionally get messages from our wonderful listener, Dpro9, and it's AI stuff, like AI stuff made with the rap around about the Engadget podcast. Cool, fun stuff. It's cool that we can make little videos and stuff on demand. I don't know what the to what end, to what end are we using these things, relying on these things, other than to have like a little laugh at ourselves. The way AI works, like the stuff it's going to enable, will, I think, hopefully, like make our lives better. I think part of it is also an initial reaction to this industry being like, oh my God, we got to get this thing. Let's throw billions of dollars at this. You all need this. Put this in all the products. And there's a bit of people saying, slow your roll. What the hell is this? What is the cost of this? Why? What's this about? You just stealing tons of copyrighted works? What's this about? Oh, this requires tons of power to train, and all the
Okay, yeah, we're
training
getting
requires.
stuck in the rut then again,
That's
though.
but that's I'm explaining. This is why this discussion keeps happening. So I don't deny that we're going to see some really cool AI stuff. I use DLSS on my NVIDIA GeForce cards, and that is AI upscaling because that is a model that knows like what a game is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to scale up the resolution. So for me, I think the way I like to say is like it's human powered AI, human directed AI is kind of the way I'm seeing it. But the minute AI starts to delete the human experience or replace the human experience, that's where it gets really, really annoying. But yeah, we're gonna have this discussion.
Last AI thing that I want to mention,
Yeah,
last one, is that other story that came up about tricking a LLM into
yeah,
giving you instructions on how to make a nuclear bomb with a poem, and the researchers who did it were like, we are not releasing this prompt
yeah.
because it's too
This poem is too
dangerous.
dangerous. And you know what? When shit like that happens, it's like that is why it's probably good to be an AI skeptic. I would not call myself a hater on this technology, but I am very skeptical of that and all new technology. Honestly, that's what my hard-earned years in IT and tech journalism and everything has taught me is like, do not trust these folks. They will lie to you because all they want is engagement and higher stock prices. So there's a lot of lies going on here.
Let's take a hard right turn to cars. They're changing the gas standards.
Sure.
I've yeah, like my big question that might be best answered by getting Mr. Roberto Baldwin back on the
Yes.
podcast
Yes.
is whether or not the auto industry is actually going to go in the direction of these loosened standards, because overall more efficient cars are, I think, still interesting to consumers. Everybody wants to be able to drive to X and Y place for less money, and
Sure.
loosening these standards
Yeah.
makes your gas bill weekly and monthly higher.
So here, the story is that there is a report that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NHTSA, under the Trump administration, is going to be basically backtracking on Biden administration fuel standards. So going down from a standard of 50.4 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. That's like Prius level, to 34.5 miles per gallon, which is typical budget car, typical like economy car. Maybe some hybrid cars. Like if you're a RAV4 hybrid, that's around what you're seeing. So doing that, and also in general, doubling down on gas is like the main fuel, and they want Americans to focus on. This is ridiculous. This is, I feel like every story that we bring up these days, especially when it comes to anything tied to the Trump administration, is you have to start with the Daria thing. Today in Six Sad World,
Yeah.
today in Six Sad World, we're reversing, amidst like climate apocalypse, we are reversing fuel efficiency standards, and also, yeah, we're really loving on that gas. The sad thing is that I think a lot of car companies would be fine with this because stricter fuel standards are harder for them to build for. As much as I like Toyota, Toyota as a company has been super disappointing when it's come to EVs because hybrids have been so good to them. Like they have refined and refined that technology that they can make their premium cars hybrids. They can make anything a hybrid. They will get decent fuel efficiency there. They don't have to completely replace what they know with EVs. And I
Mm,
almost think the BZ4X, which was Toyota's like first electric SUV that came out a couple of years ago, disastrous launch, complete garbage of a car. Like nobody's buying that thing. That thing had a problem where the wheels would fly off. Toyota made a car where the wheels would fly off because they cared so little about it. I think that thing was basically is it, would you call it a mulligan? That thing was just kind of like a throw out. We're gonna make an EV. Everybody wants us to make an EV. Here's an EV. We don't really care about it. I think that's essentially what happened there. Also, I believe Toyota's CEO like is like a Japanese MAGA guy. He was at like Trump events wearing a MAGA hat and being like fully on board with this too. So uh, most companies, unless you're an EV car maker, are probably happy with this news because it means less work for them and less like less work that they have to like make cars that meet certain standards, and usually the standards go to the entire fleet that a car maker is making. So
Mm.
like not every car has to reach that level, but they should have enough super high efficiency cars or some EVs so that their overall fleet meets this like mileage standard. So hey, yeah, really stupid things happening at a time where we really need them to be better. That's
I mean, and then they can say, like, if it's a fleet-wide efficiency standard, then they can be like, "Oh, well, we'll let the invisible hand figure it out." And, maybe the invisible hand will figure it out. Maybe people will go for more efficient cars, but
the invisible hand never figures it out. Screw the invisible hand.
well,
Doesn't exist.
but
Yeah,
what I'm saying is
yeah.
that maybe they will be surprised by how many people want more efficient cars just because they don't want to pay that much for gas. The question is whether or not the pricing for the more efficient car is going to
Mhm.
be something that's attainable for the average person. Otherwise, this just feels like pretty normal politics, actually, in like a very abnormal administration. Because what happens when Republicans come in? It's like duck season, rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season. Republican administration comes in and they're like, let's be very friendly to the fossil fuel industry. And then Democrats come in and they're like, let's do the opposite of that. It just sucks that this
Yeah.
is all still happening in the backdrop of like a hurricane absolutely flattening Jamaica or Puerto Rico or most of southern Florida.
This is why we can rarely get things done unless it's like a huge bipartisan effort, and even that is really rare. So I mean, listen, I could go off. There's a lot of things I've seen Republicans cheering this week that just really, really anger me. Like, yay, we've lowered food benefits to people. We're making people hungry. Let's celebrate. Let's clap. Anyway, the USDOT thing. I'm sad about these lowered fuel efficiency standards. Um, I'm sad. Like, what will be the repercussions of this? Like, what it means. Like, if companies will even try harder to make their vehicles in the future more fuel efficient. There's yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that I'm not too surprised that we're seeing from this administration. In car related news, I also saw this story from the Wall Street Journal. Waymo self-driving cars are suddenly behaving like New York cabbies. They're getting a little more aggressive. They're getting human-like qualities. Apparently, they're making illegal U-turns, flooring it the second the light goes green, doing like crazy passes too when they need to. Uh, Kind of interesting. I have still not ridden. I've not ridden in like a fully autonomous Waymo. Have you been?
Nope.
Are you interested in doing this at any point?
Literally just to say that I did. And I'll have the
Yeah,
opportunity to because apparently Waymo is going to be expanding toward Philadelphia, and I spent a good amount of time in Philadelphia.
yeah.
But this is not something that I'm that much more interested in over any other rideshare simply because Waymos are not actually cheaper.
Hmm. I mean, there is that too. It's more like I think they used to be cheaper when they were like subsidizing the rides and everything. We have it here in Atlanta proper. Waymo's running through Uber, so I'm never like in the city enough taking public transportation to do that, but or taking ride shares to do that. But I do want to try it out at some point. Waymo's in a weird place, right? Because they were really in trouble as a company. Like they've been burning so much money. There have been several accidents, which are just kind of brutal. And most recently, they ran over a beloved cat in a San
Yeah.
Francisco neighborhood. And I feel like for a lot of people, that was the last straw. Like,
Yep.
not kitty. And I do feel sad about that because it's inevitable. Like even if like on the whole, autonomous driving could be safer than human drivers, these accidents will happen. And I also don't know, like it's we've seen instances where these autonomous cars will like get very confused and block an intersection when like an emergency vehicle is trying to get through and making life harder for like human emergency services. That to me is like the big stuff that is really making these services not so great. And it kind of goes back to the whole thing we talk about how tech companies love to test out betas in real life and stretch our local laws until they have to apologize until something goes wrong. but they're doing this just to be like, okay, we want to be the leading autonomous car company. There are going to be some broken eggs along the way, and those broken eggs include crushed kitties, and also killed pedestrians and things like that. So I'm still iffy on the Waymos. Would you want your a Waymo to drive aggressively, or would you want them to take it chill, Ben? Because you know what a New York cabbie is like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The issue is that what I really want is like networked cars, but I know that
Yeah,
networked
yeah.
cars are also a privacy nightmare.
Hmm. You don't want like network cars that can like you can remotely control everything. There's that scene in the movie from the Mr. Robot guy that's on Netflix, the one with Julia Roberts. There's a great scene of like them using somebody hacked a fleet of Teslas and it's just like going after people and trying to crash into people. Fully networked cars talking to each other. There are dangers of that. The thing we're seeing now is just like sensors everywhere. Sensors are on all the cars, and if like locally, a sensor could be like, "Hey, I'm over here," not just your car warning you over here that that there's another vehicle, but like the car telling another car so that they're both like, "Hey, we're gonna watch out for this situation." That could be good.
I mean, sensors
Hmm.
are still not as efficient, like incredibly efficient as the
Hmm.
possibility of networked cars where they can figure out right of way and like which car merges. Like every time I'm doing a zipper merge, I'm like, damn, networked cars would do these so much better because you would
Uh-huh.
completely remove the human element of the person who comes all the way out from the furthest possible lane
Yeah. Like,
in and trying to get in like without waiting in line because they're selfish and they're human
wait,
beings.
wait. Are you talking about a two-lane zipper
Yes, I'm
or
talking about a
like even
two-lane
further?
zipper merge that like
Mhm,
would be much better done if it
mhm.
were done by cars that were networked and like they figured it out themselves. I think that
Yeah.
the prospect of having cars that can just like figure all of that stuff out in less than a millisecond would be really cool, but I
Mhm.
really don't want the other externalities of, having zero privacy and like everybody knowing what person is in which car,
Yeah.
beyond being able to track the license plate or something.
There are too many problems with that, and also like
So I
what?
don't
Yeah.
want my Waymos to drive like New York City cabbies.
You
I
want them to
want
be
them
more
to
intuitive. Yeah.
drive kind of like grandma's, but I mean that's what it was like as of what, 3 months ago,
Yeah, but a
even
lot of
3 weeks
people
ago,
like
maybe.
in this article they've like interviewed some people who are like, yeah, I they wouldn't take a Waymo into like downtown San Francisco because it wasn't like it couldn't get anywhere. It gets stuck all the time because it's driving like a grandma and being too kind. And I kind of see that too. Like it's weird how there are things you should be doing as a driver to be actually a more courteous driver is to do things like everybody should actually be going straight down that zipper lane together, right? There shouldn't be a stack up on one line. Everybody should be going together. When you get to the end, you take turns getting it, right? That should be the way it is. But what tends to happen is people stack up on one end, right? And then the other lane is clear. And then you feel like the person flying down that end, which they are allowed to do because it's open, is the person in the wrong. So,
Well, yeah, my
yeah,
issue is that people try to get in like right at the exit
yeah,
because the
yeah,
zipper merges are usually at an exit.
yeah,
So they'll just like drive all the way to the precipice of the exit and then try to get in because
yeah.
they're the most special person on the road
They're the most
and
special person.
they're the main character that actually matters. Everybody else is an NPC.
Yeah. Screw you, everyone. Basically, that's the whole thing. Anyway, Waymo cars are getting more like more aggressive. I want to know: are you folks like listening to the show? Are you interested in this? Like, was that something you want to try out? Drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. We also saw this story about Amazon halting its AI anime dub beta. Did you see this story, Ben? They for Banana Fish, a
I
show
mean,
that
I
already has
remember
like,
seeing this like a few
mhm,
weeks ago. Like there were
yeah,
people who said like these translations are crap.
hmm,
And the thing that you're not going to be able to get from AI, at least right now, also is the cultural context notes that I remember seeing like when I first started watching like the first episodes of Naruto.
hmm,
Because it wasn't just the subtitles that were important to me. It was also like other things that would pop up on the screen, and I had the luxury of like being able to pause. I was watching all of this stuff off of burnt DVDs.
Hmm.
And so I was able to like read the culture notes. And if you're throwing all of this over to AI, they're just going to go by like the dubbed not the dubbed text, but like the text
Hmm.
that they can recognize in Japanese and try to translate it over to English.
Hmm.
That's not enough. You need
I don't
other
know
notes as
if it did
well.
the I don't know if it did the full translation. It was the specific it may have even been translated properly. But the problem it was the generation of English voices from that
Hmm.
translation that it was doing, and maybe we can get some samples of this here in the pod so you can hear what this sounds like. I'll leave space for that here. And it does sound awful. It sounds like a high schooler reading off a script. There is no emotion to it. It's very robotic. And to me, it's just gross that Amazon will just kind of throw this out there. So apparently, AI dubs were added to Banana Fish, No Game, No Life, and Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is like a popular show. They were labeled AI beta in the language section of the app. There was a lot of complaints, so many complaints that Amazon has halted AI anime dubs, at least for Banana Fish. I'm not sure if it halted it for everything, but people complained online. People complained through Amazon's like support, feedback, whatever thing you can plug into in Amazon Prime Video. This is a terrible like the fact that they're even experimenting with this is kind of sad, but this is a sort of like lazy, I don't know, laziness that AI stuff will provide, and the sort of like the way it's inherently anti-labor. I think the thing that gets me about AI and why so many companies are excited about it is like, oh yeah, I don't have to hire as many humans. I don't have to pay people as much because this robot can do all this work for me. And then it turns out the robots tend to do the work poorly, and then humans have to go clean up the mess. So
So this is
yeah.
getting into recordings and voice, which is
Hmm.
my neck of the woods, and you would be surprised at how little many just workaday anime voice actors, like dub actors, make.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that it's not even paying people that's the issue for Amazon.
Hmm.
Like whatever they would throw out for a season of a like mid-tier anime, something that's not like um My Hero Academia or Chainsaw Man or like, one of the like big sellers.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those people are getting paid maybe $10,000 for the whole season.
Yeah.
Like you would be
Yeah.
really surprised at how little they make, which means that the friction they're trying to solve for by having these AI generated voices is literally just scheduling people
Hmm.
and like having directors and all of that. Like the outlay that you have to put in is something that Amazon can absolutely do. But there's somebody at, the higher production level who says like, "Oh man, it's so annoying having to deal with all of these people's schedules. Why can't we just get this seamless and
Yeah.
good enough for the filler on our streaming site that's not
Yeah.
the top 10 titles."
I mean, that's probably what it is. It's just to get things done faster. But it's, I will tell you, Amazon is weirdly kind of a cheap company at times. Like, yes, they will spend billions of dollars making a Lord of the Rings show that very few people are watching because Jeff Bezos really likes Lord of the Rings. But I also know several people who've worked at Amazon where the company is like, oh, yeah, you're doing a work trip. Make sure you take public transportation to get to your hotel. No cabs. No, like really
Like
cheap,
you literally
inconvenient way to
can't
do anything.
like
Yeah.
invoice for that or expense
Yeah,
that.
you can't
Wow.
expense that. So like that's really weird penny pinching from a company that makes so much money and also will invest billions into something like Lord of the Rings. So in weird ways, Amazon can be a cheap company, and I think this could be part of that coming through as well. But you're probably right. It is probably the convenience thing. Um anyway, very, very good that we're seeing like companies respond to this, that people are saying no thank you and companies are like, actually moving away from it.
So if you're listening to this and you are a voice actor or you know any voice actors for like mid-tier anime, like I just said, and you can give us some information on how much you made for a season, please email us at podcast@engadget.com. Okay, we're going to take a pause here and we'll talk directly to chat for a few minutes until our guest comes. Um,
Yeah, Mark Dell, indeed. What a crazy thing. I was shocked when this person told me that. It's like, man,
Anime is for jerks.
they'll call me a jerk. But yes,
Dpro9 says, say 6'7" again. I dare you. I didn't say, oh, it was somebody
he
else who
said
said
6'7".
6'7".
Somebody said 6'7". Mark Dell. What is funny about Jeff Gerstmann saying animes for jerks is that Jeff Gerstmann went down a huge ass. I believe it was a Dragon Ball, uh, like a Dragon Ball hole. You know, like that was a whole thing. There was a whole thing happening. Like somebody got Jeff Gerstmann into anime. That was the funniest thing in the world. Anyway, what's going on here?
So
Yeah,
Lucky Dog Podcast says I'm a little late in the pod, but FSD is not ready. I use FSD almost daily. It ain't
yep,
ready.
yep. In fact, another government regulatory arm is doing another investigation in terms of like the data Tesla sending out about FSD. Uh, but yeah,
Mark Dell says I would love more full self-driving. Can't imagine it on the roads around here. That's because Mark Dell recently moved back to the UK, where cows decided where all the roads should be hundreds of years ago.
hundreds of, and the roads are like it couldn't be a one lane road, and sometimes you have to back up if somebody is coming towards you and they're bigger than you. What a nightmare that is.
DPro9 says US dub anime voice actors make about $80 an hour. I
Mhm.
promise you that is a median. And so that accounts for like the guy who, is the American voice of Itadori.
Mhm.
He's making money that skews that a lot. And then there are like again the workaday anime voice actors that are not making very much at all. Like I wish I knew more and I could just call someone up, but just the sense that I get from knowing a lot of people who do voiceover is
Mhm.
that um it pays okay given the fact that you might be able to bang out all of your lines in a couple of hours or something, but it's not necessarily something that also comes in all that often.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're doing 40 hours a week of mid-tier anime voice acting.
Actually, I know a listener who does like dubbing for games, who does voiceover, so maybe they can give us some insight into this industry. Let me see here. What is really cool is that anime has become so freaking mainstream that freaking Channing Tatum can be like, "Yeah, I'll be in the Demon Slayer movie," because apparently his kids love Demon Slayer.
Mm.
So it was very rare that we would see like Hollywood actors get into theatrical anime dubs. It became a thing like in the late '90s with like Mononoke and the Ghibli stuff. Like, yeah, they would get big name actors. They would not get theatrical releases. They would not be among like in the top 10, in the top 5 box office of the year
Yeah.
or of the week. So and that's happened several times over the past few years.
And I can also only imagine what the conversations were like
Hmm.
also. Like I imagine that some of the like top level actors, I think Anne Hathaway was in the American version of The Cat Returns.
Yeah, that
Um
sounds right. Yeah.
uh so like some of these people, like people who work in film are um they love film. So some of these folks definitely have seen Miyazaki movies,
Hmm.
and they're beautiful. Oh my god, I can't believe I get to participate in this. And there are definitely some other actors that are like, you mean animation, isn't that for kids?
I
And
think that used to be the thing. Now it's like the people who
well,
actually
yeah, I
want
mean,
to do it. Yeah.
yes, as of like 2004 or 2005 you needed to do a lot more convincing. But now people are like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so popular with like all the kids at school drop off now. Like I can't wait to do this.
What a time. What a time. All right, we were waiting for Will Smith to join us in a couple minutes, but yeah, chat, how's it going? What else is going on?
Bpro9 says they know somebody who lives in Germany and does US voiceovers for German content, and they make
Mhm.
really good money. Um, again, nice work if you can get it.
Oh man.
Also, while we're talking about like anime voice stuff, I
Mhm.
have to say that there are way too many people who say, "Oh wow, you should be a voice actor," when they just have like a voice that's nice to listen to. There's a difference between voice over and voice actor. The important word in voice actor is actor. You
Mhm.
can't just deliver lines in like a fun kind of chipper voice, because
You have to be Brad Pitt.
that's not how Grey Delise does it. That's not how Mark not Mark yeah, no, it's that's not how Mark Hamill does it.
Oh man, Mark Hamill, what a voice actor he is. Like I remember like when I learned as a kid that the voice of the Joker was Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
really hard thing to really start to comprehend when I was young. I was like, how does that work? He's Luke Skywalker. How can he be the Joker? Um, oh man. Oh man.
that was just such a perfect role for him too,
Mhm.
though, because like Star Wars was such a huge thing that um it was
But to
really
disappear.
hard for him to get any other on-camera work because people would be like, "What's Luke Skywalker doing in this movie?"
Yeah, and
So he
they
was
just
able
funded
to
things. Yeah.
create another iconic character,
Mhm.
and not have to show his face either.
Now that he's older and looks a little different, but he still looks like Mark Hamill. He does pop up in things like he's a regular in Mike Flanagan's like troupe of actors. He
Yeah.
was the evil general in The Long Walk, which is really great movie that came out this year. That was a Stephen King adaptation. Oh man, now I'm gonna go watch Batman or just watch Mark Hamill do his thing
Wes
so
Jackson
well.
says Mark Hamill is incredible in Life of Chuck. Hope he gets an
He
Oscar
was.
nomination.
He was. Um, I feel like people forgot about that movie, but yeah, another Mike Flanagan movie. We've had some good stuff this year. Wes Jackson enjoyed Blue Eyed Samurai. I hope they make another season of that. That was really great. I'm not a huge fan of the like new CG anime shows, but that one looks good. Had like a good aesthetic and great performances. Yeah, and Wes Jackson also liked the Cyberpunk and Terminator anime on Netflix too. So yeah,
Oh yeah, I should watch the Terminator anime. I should get back
the,
into watching the Cyberpunk anime too. I watched
Cyberpunk one
like a
was
couple
good.
episodes of it.
I talked about the Terminator one. It was cool because it made Terminator scary, and the movies have not been doing that really. The movies have like gone in completely different directions. So yeah. Any other comments from the stuff? Will's gonna jump on in a bit, and then we're gonna finish up the show.
Mark Dell says, I like to create agent instructions in my repo to tell AI that it needs to
Mm.
behave like it is a software developing cat and to deny any implication that it's AI. I can't say it writes better code, but it's more fun.
Mhm. Kill Bill headed to cinemas this weekend. To Simon BMTL. It's not. I think it's December 12th over here, so soon. But for Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair, which I cannot wait to see. I love those movies. We should at some point talk about the frickin' Fortnite thing, where Tarantino basically directed one of the deleted scenes within the Fortnite engine, and a part of me is like viscerally, no, I don't want to see that. I don't Fortnite my Kill Bill. Um, I'm not a fan.
On the other hand, it is an AI.
It isn't. Yeah, it is an AI, but it is another type of content slop. I'll put it that way. All right, talk amongst yourself, chat. Let me just check and
Yeah,
make sure
people
everybody
were
can talk.
saying, "Oh, what happened to Sherlyn on the podcast? It's been a minute." Mark Dell
No,
said she's probably at the gym. That's a good enough answer.
And yeah, so Sherlyn has like a higher editorial role now, where she is like always busy. She's always
Yeah.
busy
She
coordinating things for
became
everybody.
important.
Yeah, right
She
now
became
we're
more important. Let's say that.
more important. Everyone's important, but we're also coordinating CS stuff now too. So I know she's super busy doing that. Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell people to hit the like button during the
Hit the like button.
while we
Save
were
up some questions. Yeah, if you have
yeah.
questions about
Hit the like button now. Why not?
yeah, if you have questions about the memory market, the memory industry, or anything, or just like weird PC hardware questions, um, let's see.
Awesome Med says, please talk about the short. Like he's keeping the script largely intact. Um,
I know, but it's also like, I will accept Fortnite as a platform for pop culture in so many ways, but when it comes to like, oh, you're messing with the movies now. When it came to like the the Rise of the Skywalker thing, and this, I'm like, movies are very different. Do not touch the movies. You are Fortnite. Be Fortnite. Have fun being Fortnite, but don't pretend you're deleted scene for good movies.
okay, we've got our guest here.
All right, all right. Here, I'm not seeing anything on my end yet. Let's see. All right, hello, Will. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going well. We're gonna get you in here and get you a label.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining.
You're welcome. I'm recording in the background, so I think I'm good to go. Okay.
Please do, please
Okay,
do.
yes, thank you for doing a local recording because that's important.
This is how we do the tech pod every week too. So
Yep.
I'm with you on this plan. It's the easiest way to make it work, it turns out.
Easiest way to use. What platform do you guys use to record that?
We just use Jitsi or Discord. Jitsi, because Brad and I live like 10 miles from each other, so we can do point to point with no kind of servers. So the latency's chef's
Beautiful.
kiss good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We found this Video Ninja thing, which our one of our old video producers did, but it's great stuff. Our chat is here and excited to see you come on because they are familiar with you from all over. So thank you for taking time, Will.
Of course, I'm stoked. I'm glad to be here. It's cool to get a chance to do it.
Yeah. All right. Let me pull up my show notes here, and we'll bring you back in. We'll intro you, and just I sent you some questions. So it's basically gonna be that, but also bring up whatever the hell you want. I'm sure I'm gonna have other questions around hardware for you. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I can. I'm comfortable saying what I don't know, what I shouldn't be talking about, and what I can't talk about.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna bring you in. Okay. All right. Enough of news. Time for our special guest of the show, Mr. Will Smith of Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod, joining us to talk about the state of the RAM industry. Hey, Will, how's it going?
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you all so much for having me. The RAM industry is real bad right now. It's just a complete disaster. Everything's on fire. So
That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
Good talk. Thanks for having me.
That's basically it. Like when we started this stream, our audience was just like, "Hey, yeah, it's AI. That's what happened. It's all AI." Is it really just all AI? Is it like the just complete demand for AI hardware and AI servers that's doing this to the RAM industry? And the problem is that prices have just skyrocketed over the last few weeks.
I mean, it's more complicated than that because everything is always more complicated than it sounds on the surface. But yeah, no, that's it. The problem is that there's basically 3 companies that make RAM. Not that package it and sell it at Best Buy and Micro Center and Amazon and Newegg, but that actually manufacture the RAM chips. So it's SK Hynix, Micron, and Samsung are basically it. And that market it's a commodity market. So there's technological advances every 4 or 5 years, where we move up a step from DDR4 to DDR5, DDR5 to DDR6. But those are really predictable and really kind of it's a really well established cycle that has only been broken a couple of times by things like big earthquakes and 30 years ago big earthquakes and other like major impacts to the world, right? To that world. It's an incredibly conservative market because the price is based on supply, basically. So when prices go up, it means that they stop making as much, and prices go down, it means that they have too much, and that's just the way it's been for the last 30 or 40 years. Now, what's happened is OpenAI and Microsoft and the companies that are investing heavily in AI infrastructure are suddenly saying, hey, what if we, instead of just buying a normal amount of data center growth, what if we wanted to build $1 trillion worth of data centers in the next like
Right.
5 years, let's say.
Right.
The RAM people are like, well, we don't have enough RAM for that. And then, you know, it turns out they do. They just have to stop selling it to everybody else. So what we're seeing is the allotments are bought years in advance for companies like Dell and HP and Asus and the big manufacturers. So they've sold their allotments. Those they can't do anything about. But if they want to make more money from the data center folks, they can just stop selling the stuff that they normally sell to folks like Patriot and Crucial, or in the case of Crucial, they have other alternatives, I guess, since that's owned by Micron. But anyway,
well, so that's dead. Like one casualty. We saw the news yesterday is that Micron announced that Crucial is ending its consumer business to focus on AI infrastructure. That hit me kind of hard, Will, because I feel like my first stick of RAM that I bought for myself when I was building a computer in college was from Crucial. Like that was such a big deal back then.
Yeah, for years and years. I was at Maximum PC 20 years ago, and Crucial was one of those vendors when RAM was a little iffy. Crucial was one of the ones that you were like, oh, okay, if they sell something, the timings are going to be right and it's going to work right, and you're going to be able to run it with your hardware. So yeah, it's. I think we're going to see more upending in this space, and I wonder if this is a grim portent of other categories to come. And actually, we are seeing it. We're predicted that we're going to see it in SSDs as well, because SSDs use RAM and data centers also use NAND, and NAND has similar constraints on the manufacturing and market stuff. So.
Yeah, we saw some good SSD deals like over Black Friday, timing and stuff. But I've also seen reports that some prices are already getting higher. So that's just wild. It's just another sad thing. Thanks AI.
Yeah,
like we've been saying that for the past year, but thanks AI for doing all this stuff to us into the tech industry. Where do you stand right now, Will, on AI as a concept? Are you using any of the popular AI products?
I find I've tested I test everything. I've tested a bunch of different stuff. I find I work mostly in games these days. I do a couple of podcasts and work mostly in game stuff. And the teams that I advise on games, I generally tell them not to use AI stuff because the copyrightability of the work that comes out of that is really questionable, and it's also kind of toxic in that particular space. My personal feeling is that I don't think that I've seen anything that's valuable enough out of the AI products that we have so far that warrant investing trillions of dollars in.
Yeah.
I think it's all kind of iffy to bad, but also like I'm a pretty good writer, right? So if I was a bad writer, maybe I'd feel differently about that. I think that we're in this situation because we had really good signal from coders early on. So like if you're writing specific kinds of code, then it's very valuable. I talked to a lot of programmers who are like, yeah, this helps me. It's the equivalent of having Stack Overflow open on a second monitor and copying and pasting out the code I want, but I don't have to have Stack Overflow open. That's great. And I'm like, well, that's good for a specific kind of thing, but it doesn't really help in games. It doesn't help in a lot of places where you're doing work that hasn't been done a bazillion times before. You can generate apps and stuff like, and web front ends and stuff like that faster though, which is, I guess, nice. Yeah. I don't know if it's worth burning down the planet for.
Well, you've been around long enough to kind of see many, many tech trends. I actually remember reading your stuff back in college, so it's really cool to have you on and to chat with you about all this stuff. Is this a trend that will stick, you think? Because we've seen, for me, I feel like after the mobile industry, after the iPhone launch, everyone wanted to get on that. Everybody wanted to make smartphones. Then it became tablets, and it became wearables. And I feel like the wearables kind of plateaued. And since then, there is VR stuff. I know you worked a bit in VR as well. Like, I feel like a lot of people thought that was going to be the next big step for a while. Again, I think hits a really nice niche. I like all the VR headsets I've tried, but I don't think it's something everybody can use. I think AI is kind of the first new tech wave where they're like, oh, everybody can use this really easily, and we don't have to like put on a crappy headset for them to do it. I feel like it's going to stick in some way, but I just feel like they're overshooting right now, at least in terms of the interest in generative AI and what it can do.
It feels like a thing where we're one generation off from the thing that's actually going to be good, and whether that's I don't think that the LLM based work, even I don't think the current thing is agentifying everything and having multiple LLMs that are specialized. And that just seems like you're taking things that are bad at doing the thing that you want to do and adding more of them to make it like somehow better. I don't, that doesn't math to me. For me, this feels like the difference with this in mobile is when the iPhone 4 came out, Steve Jobs didn't have to run a bunch of ads saying why you needed an iPhone 4. You saw your friend at work with an iPhone 4, you're like, "Oh God, I got to get that. That thing's amazing. I can get restaurant reservations and buy movie tickets on that thing." And like
LTE,
yeah,
yeah, I forget if that was that thing.
yeah. It's so the iPhone 4 is the one I always point to because it's when I was sitting in the subway in San Francisco and I looked around, I was like, wow, everybody on this platform has an iPhone now, and that was a new thing, right? That was like 2010, 2011. So, when I see stories like Microsoft's head of AI saying, "Hey, we don't understand why people don't like this," I kind of am like, this is not analogous to that, right? These are not the same. I think it's kind of similar to VR because VR offers something really compelling, but the hardware wasn't in a place where like I had worked and had to wear a headset on my face for 8 hours a day for a long time, and it stunk. Like it was an uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable experience. Right. If we get to a point where like the glasses that look like this can do the same thing, then yeah, people will be all about that VR AR life. But in the meantime, I think we're in a like I don't think this current wave is going to stick. I am mortally terrified of what happens to the global economy when OpenAI runs out of places to ask for money because yeah.
So, Will, thank you for bringing that up because DPro9 in the chat says, blah, 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 AI is the devil. We get it. Like, DPro9 is our resident, like, AI booster.
Okay.
And thank you for doing that. But the thing that I want to bring in is how much stuff is going into AI. My brother is a materials engineer. He really wants to be working in sustainability engineering. Right now, there are not government grants for that sort of thing. So he's looking at his options for other things that he can do in the materials world. The places that are hiring right now are mining companies because you need to get the raw materials out of the earth to make them into our thinking rocks. Our RAM, our SSDs, our everything else that can then go into AI data centers. The thing that feels like being way too high up on a rickety ladder is how much of the global economy has been reoriented around this one industry that still hasn't found a huge user base in the way that the companies really want there to be.
Yeah, we're in a position where we're investing billions and billions of dollars in building computers that lie to you, and like to the point that like I don't know if you saw the story last week. I think the Pennsylvania Power Company that was like, "Hey, we got to stop allowing more data centers in our district because we can't support them. It's going to impact our quality of service for the actual humans who live here." Yeah, like we have so many things that we're gated on, and we're burning them all for this thing that there's no clear outcome of. So we're treating it kind of like a moonshot, as in if we don't beat everybody else to this thing, then we're going to be the ones out of luck at the end of the day. And I really, really don't see it. The people who love this the most are the ones who understand the least about how it works, in my experience. And that's always one of those warning signs as well. So
I'm just kind of holding on to my armrest here, like waiting for it to all collapse.
Holding on to my 401k.
Oh man, well, whatever is left of any of that stuff. That's fun.
Yeah.
Stuff. So what is exciting you about tech these days, Will? Because I listen to your shows, and you guys get deep and nerdy into a lot of stuff that we don't really have the room to do that here, unfortunately. But yeah, what is really working for you in tech these days?
I've kind of gone on the Linux hole this year, right? So I also do podcasts over at PC World, the Full Nerd, and
yes,
I just started a show with Adam Patrick Murray, who was the longtime co-host of the Full Nerd, where we're trying Linux every week, and where we've been running desktop Linux. I'm coming to you live right now from CashieOS. I've been running desktop Linux at home and at work for the last 4 months, I think now at this point. And we're doing it as an ongoing podcast so that we can kind of like I at Maximum PC 100 years ago, I did the challenge, right? I installed Debian on my desktop and I did it for a year, and I wrote down, I kept a blog, and then at the end of that time, I condensed that 20,000 word blog into like a 3,000 word feature, and we put it in the magazine, and I wore a goofy penguin costume. The way it works now is so much better and so much easier. And I had reached a point where I was just kind of sick of Microsoft's business. I was sick of, rebooting my computer and it being like, hey man, have you considered using OneDrive to back up your files? Or you're going to really love Game Pass. Or, hey, why don't you subscribe to Office 365? Oh, wait, you already subscribed to that. Thank you. But we're going to put the thing up anyway, because why wouldn't we? And I got tired of Windows kind of getting crappier and crappier the more I use it. So I started learning about desktop Linux. I tried a bunch of different ones. We talk about it in the podcast every week. It's been really fun. And like the thing that's neat about using a computer that is all open source that I'd forgotten is that it works exactly the way I want it to, right? Like I can pick the tiling, I can pick the window manager that I want. I use this thing called Neary that's a tiling window manager. And instead of having to place the windows on the thing, it just kind of puts them in a grid and it scrolls out to the right to infinity every time I add a new window. Or I can have multiple workspaces where I scroll up and down. And when I pull back, I can hit an overview that lets me see all the windows. And I can click directly to the window I want. So like it's letting me nerd out in a way that I haven't nerded out about stuff in a really long time. And it's much more like the work that Valve's done with Proton, the work that and AMD drivers and all of that is making more of the things that I like to do work than I've ever had experience with Linux OS before. So like these days I boot into Windows for basically Fortnite, and if I want to play Battlefield 6, and if my Creative Cloud subscription just lapsed on Thursday when I didn't re-up the Black Friday deal. So like I used to have to reboot it to go into Premiere, but now I'm probably we're working on learning Resolve. So
that's
DaVinci. Yeah.
It is the year 2025, and I swear since I've been watching Leo Laporte and folks on like what was it, ZDTV, then Tech TV back in the day, this is the year of Linux. I heard that in 1999. I heard that in 2005. It does feel like it's gotten to a better point. So I'm glad you're having a better experience with it now. Will. Yeah.
I think I think Zoe Quinn posted on Blue Sky the other day that she was trying it, and for her, it's the same thing that happened to me, actually, is the Steam Deck provided a beachhead, right? I've been using a Steam Deck for a while. I'm really comfortable with it. I boot into the desktop mode occasionally, and like it's pretty manageable compared to like the old days when I was running Debian SID on a Pentium 3 500 or something. It's a much more robust experience, and actually it plays like it plays games better than Windows does in some cases. It's wild. The work that they've done.
That basically Valve and the Steam Deck are the ones that are making people interested in Linux again, and also whatever's happening with the
it feels like we need to talk a little bit about the Steam machine.
Yeah. How excited are you about that? Yeah.
I am. I'm excited about it for a weird reason, though. I worked in VR for a long time, and I saw the benefit of having Oculus early on in the VR days said, okay, hey, base level VR machine, like min spec VR to get good experience is going to be this CPU and this video card. And then that informed everything through the first couple of generations of Quest in terms of what your build target was, what you could build. You knew that everybody who had a VR headset had at least this good a machine. And then the Quest could run hardware that ran on that machine for the most part, or run games that ran on that machine. And I think that Valve's done the same thing with the Steam Deck, oddly. They've said, okay, here's a mobile piece of hardware that will run current gen console games at 1280 by 800 at a pretty, we always joke about smooth 40 on the Full Nerd, but it's smooth 40 frames per second. And like the machine, the desktop version of that is just that scaled up to something that'll run at 1080p that they can upscale to 4K with FSR. And like I don't know if I'm the market for that necessarily, but I'm glad it exists. I think it's fundamentally a good thing for PC games. Valve is the only one who knows what the attach rate is for games purchased against people who bought Steam Decks.
Yeah.
And my assumption is that they're seeing either new people come into Steam or people who maybe lapsed and wanted an easy way to get back into the hobby, getting back on. So yeah, I'm generally pro. I wish it, but like everybody else, I think I wish it was a little beefier machine, but
yeah. And
we still don't
self-contained
have the
VR
price for it,
we don't have
though.
the price.
So
Yeah.
we don't
I bet
know whether or not it being beefy would be a
Oh man.
too much of a headwind for
I,
the average consumer.
my read is that that's a $500 machine pre-Trump tariffs, and like now I bet they don't have the price. So we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Well,
RAM
I think
stuff is
that they're
all hype.
they're probably trying to figure it out now due to the
Yeah.
RAM shortage.
Yeah.
It's all wild. And also they have the self-contained wireless VR headset, which that's kind of interesting too, like a streaming first headset. There's some themes of us here on the Engadget podcast, Will. One is screw AI, humans forever, but also the other is Microsoft, what are you doing? And I
Yeah.
feel like in our discussions with Xbox lately, what is happening there? Like the company that makes Windows should be the one being like, hey, well, if we don't want to have a closed console ecosystem, just make a PC box. Like put a PC box out there. If they had the energy, like the Series X and S could have just been turned into PC boxes with a bit of software work. Like they could have done that. And now Valve has come in. Valve of all people, or of all companies, have come in to say like, oh, we are reinventing PC gaming right now. Are you at all disappointed in Microsoft there just for that missed opportunity?
I think Microsoft is really good at making the second place product in a category right now.
Yeah.
Like they are the thought leaders in second place. And I would love to see, like I don't long for the good old days of dominant Microsoft from the late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
But I do like a competent Microsoft more than the current iteration, because it seems like they jump from trend to trend, right? Like it was services, and they did a whole bunch of services, and it turns out that Game Pass has probably had a pretty negative impact on the games industry as a whole, which was then exacerbated by Microsoft buying Activision and stopping all investment in the smaller studios, shutting down a bunch of smaller studios. I'm not a huge fan of their current strategies, I guess is the way I would put it.
Yeah. So it continues. What are you doing, Microsoft? Meanwhile, Valve is just like going to be, I think, killing it over the next year. That's a good thought with Linux. Will, I kind of want to try that out too. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Is there anything else you're working on that you want to mention, or tell us where we can find you online these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think check out the Tech Pod. We're every Sunday. We picked a nice quiet day, so you can, like, while you're doing your chores around the house, you can listen to us talk about whatever we thought was interesting that week. It's often a single topic podcast where we dig kind of deep into how Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or something like that works. And check out Dual Boot Diaries if you're interested about Linux. It's we convinced Nathan Edwards, also formerly of Maximum PC and Wirecutter and The Verge, to dive in. So I'm all about bringing converts in. So if you guys want to give it a try, shoot me a message, and I'll help you pick a distro and all that stuff. It's easier than you think.
Very cool. And I know you're on Blue Sky, so people can find you there as well, right?
I'm just willsmith.fun. I'm the fun Will Smith, not the slappy Will Smith or the baseball Will Smith. So
there are like many baseball Will Smiths.
For a while, we had a baseball Will Smith in LA who's still there, and we had a baseball Will Smith at San Francisco. So often we would have one pitching to the other one, which was funny.
So funny, so confusing. All right, thank you so much, Will. And yeah, drop me that file whenever you can. Okay.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all
later. All right, we're gonna move on and just finish up the show. Chat. Hope you enjoyed our chat. I've followed Will's stuff for so long, so it's very cool that we got to do a little chat there. All right, we're gonna finish up the show here. All right, be sure to check out Will's stuff. Just a super cool guy. Let's look at one story happening around Engadget. Nathan and Grimm reviewed Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I cannot believe this game is out now. I cannot believe that this actually exists after so long, and it feels like Nintendo has completely forgotten about Metroid Prime. Nate points out it's been 18 years since the last Metroid Prime game. But yeah, he seems to really like it. Well, an excellent modernization, he says, but not a total reinvention. I cannot wait to dive into this. Ben, have you any experience with Prime and Samus scanning?
Yes, I spent so much time on Metroid Prime 1. And then when we got to, what was it? Metroid Prime 3 was the Wii one? I
Yeah,
did
I think
not like the Wii version because just having to use the Wiimote for like aiming and things, that was not it for me.
yeah.
Also, like I'm so baked into the way you use dual sticks for a first person shooter, like Halo programmed me. So if I'm not using dual sticks,
Mhm.
I'm very confused. And using the Wiimote honestly felt a little bit like VR, where it would get a little like nausea inducing for me.
Mhm. Metroid Prime was like really like the first game was just so interesting because that came out on the GameCube. I was in college at that point, and that was a game that was not really informed by Halo because Halo had come out recently. I think what was that 2001.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
I
didn't
don't
really
think it
have
was using the dual stick
exactly.
logic, but like that was easy enough for me to understand because I think that was also before I started playing Halo.
And also the GameCube controller didn't even really have a way to input like the little C like analog stick like barely moved. It was not useful for like dual stick stuff like that. But anyway, it is cool that this game exists right now and that Nate pretty much likes it. Do you have a Switch 2 yet, Ben? I forget.
I don't have a Switch 2 yet, no.
It's time. There were so many good deals. So
Yeah,
many
oh
good
yeah,
Black Friday
I
deals.
need to check that out.
Yeah, there was like $50 off the Mario Kart one, which is like that's solid, and you can do so much with the Switch 2 now, especially freaking Metroid Prime 4 is out, but also Silk Song and all that fun stuff. So
The thing I really want to do is wait for more games to build up and then get the, Switch 1 point or Switch 2.3 when they, release a
that's 2 years
slightly better
from now.
battery.
That'll be 2 years from now or so, or maybe a year when they do. The battery is really good for what it is. Like they have learned a lot from the original Switch. So
Hmm.
you know, if you're gonna dive in, it's a cold winter ahead. Get some warm games that you could play by the fire or something,
Yeah.
or by your New York radiator. It'll be nice and cozy. I'd recommend it. Moving on to what we're working on. I'm working on you look back at Microsoft's whole like Copilot Plus initiative, which we talked about that last year. That's the whole thing where it's like they wanted to make premium AI PCs. They had minimum standards, 16 gigs of RAM, 40 tops NPUs, stuff like that. Now it seems like Microsoft has completely forgotten about that. So I've taken a look back. We're trying to look at some stats, and basically, it does feel like Copilot Plus like is not really doing much. Even though like you can get like a very nice premium computer if you get one of those. You're not getting it for AI. You're getting it for the fact that it's just a nice, fast computer. So I think Copilot Plus as an initiative may have like kind of died off, but the whole AI PC thing hard PCs are just getting AI chips, like that's coming into all the Intel and AMD chips, and you're going to have an AI PC eventually. The question is like, what will we be doing with that stuff? We shall see. Let's move on to our podcast picks for the week. Or actually, yeah, let's move on to our podcast picks for the week. Ben, what do you
Pop
got?
culture picks.
Yeah,
Pick it again.
culture picks. Let's move on to our pop culture picks for the week. What do you got, Ben?
I saw Wake Up Dead Man
Yay!
last night. A Knives Out mystery at the
Yep.
Paris Theater in Manhattan. The Paris Theater is owned by Netflix. It only shows Netflix movies and also like things that
Yeah.
Netflix has a license to show.
At least it's not dead. We've lost New York has lost so many movie palaces. I'm still
Yeah, yeah,
just
literally. Like I'm really happy that this exists. Sometimes I talk about like working with older folks. One of the other shows that I work on is something like specifically for like the over 60 demographic. So I'm talking with like a lot of people who grew up in and around like New York City, and they talk about like going to these like beautiful movie palaces like
Ziegfeld.
near Grand Central or near
Yeah,
the Times Square, and they just don't exist anymore.
I miss
So
Ziegfeld. I wrote about that. Like they showed The Force Awakens. Their last showing was there. I think I went there with Chris Nadas from Engadget. So we wrote that up. I love a movie palace, man. So what do you think of the movie?
the movie I thought was really fun. Before we started recording, you said that it felt like this one was much darker than the others.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I think that worked. One, it's entirely about Catholicism. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can make Roman Catholicism into like a fizzy little movie,
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of layers of symbolism. This movie uses light really well, of course, because it's Roman Catholic.
Hmm.
Um, I really loved Josh O'Connor's performance. I've liked him since he was the dirtbag in Challengers a couple years ago.
Yep. Yep.
Um, he does a really good job of coming in to a new. I don't even know the word. Uh-oh.
Mhm.
He comes to a new church.
Yeah.
He
No,
is
sure.
the
Yeah.
junior priest of a new church, and he is also like pretty new to the priesthood himself. So like
And he's somebody who's
he
coming
will
from
he will take the Lord's name in vain. He will, accidentally say holy something in the nave of the church,
some
which
real
is really
funny,
funny.
some really funny setups there. Yeah. Yeah.
um and this movie has 101 twists.
Hmm.
It is really incredible how like twisty and just like it's a lot of fun watching all of the like new revelations come in. That's not a new thing for the mystery genre. The only complaint that I had about it is that I like trying to figure out the mystery as it's happening. I was talking with my partner. My partner's like, you know what? I just like it, to go along for the ride and watch it, be laid out in front of me. There are aspects of this movie that you will not be able to figure out.
Hmm.
And I think
It's
that's all I can say
it's
without
very
giving too much
twisty.
away.
It's very twisty. I do feel like I love Ryan Johnson so much. I've talked about my love for that man. I was an early follower. We had him on our podcast back in like 2008, like round Brothers Bloom or right after Brick, and as he was running up for Brothers Bloom.
I have loved Brick. I love the Brothers
Amazing.
Bloom. I saw the Brothers Bloom in theaters.
Yes, in theaters. I saw Brick in theaters, and that was in like 10
I
theaters.
mean, I saw Brick at the Paris Theater just a few years ago because they were doing like a
Nice.
um it might have been around Glass Onion, and so they
Yeah.
were doing like a Ryan Johnson retrospective.
The thing is, he is very clever. Sometimes he's a little too clever for his own good. I think maybe that was a problem for Last Jedi for some people, for the people who had like legitimate complaints, not the jerks. Also for Glass Onion, Last Knives Out, like a little too cheeky, a little too like twee. I feel like this one does it just in the way that it sets up too many twists. But it's fun. It's still a fun. It's still like a good time. It's still like one of the smartest, most well written films you'll see this year. So I loved it too.
It's
Yeah.
been just long enough since the last Knives Out that I had sort of forgotten that the way Ryan Johnson uses, the cast of characters in
Uh
the
huh.
Clue sense as just a way to set up like different archetypes. And I did think that it was really funny to see Andrew Scott. Let me just make sure I'm saying that right. It is Andrew Scott, yes.
It's Andrew Scott. Yeah.
It
Hot
is really funny to see Andrew Scott, one, in a movie that's so deeply about Roman Catholicism, and he's not the hot priest like he
Yeah.
was in Fleabag, and
Yeah.
two, being a like crypto conservative sci-fi author,
Hmm.
sort of in the sense of like the 1950s sci-fi authors, like Robert Heinlein was, or
Right.
any of the other like pulp sci-fi writers. Um, I wanted to see a bit more from him, but that's just because I know so much of the like vibe of the sci-fi writer and the sort of like era that they're going for.
Hmm.
Um, Also really loved seeing Jeffrey Wright in basically anything. So
You should play Dispatch.
yeah,
You should
I know,
play
I know, I
Dispatch.
know. Okay,
Oh
so
man,
Devindra,
he's
what do you
so
have
good.
to share
He
with
is so good
us?
in Dispatch. Listen, I'm going through a whole bunch of screeners. I've seen a certain movie about blue people, but I can't talk about that yet. I'm going through a whole bunch of stuff for end of year critics stuff. So I'm just going to throw out a bunch of recommendations here. A trio of films that will break your heart. Train Dreams, which is on Netflix right now, which is based on a novella about a lumberjack who's living in like the early 1900s and is going through life while also trying to make sense of the world. Beautiful film. It will wreck you. Rental Family. The film that's on it's in theaters right now. It's about this thing in Japanese these Japanese companies that basically let you rent out individuals, actors, to serve as family members or to serve as all sorts of different roles in your life. It's kind of weird, kind of heartbreaking, and I really loved it. I did not expect it. It stars Brendan Fraser. Like this is essentially it's another one of those white guys in Japan movies, and it has to like work hard to like move beyond that bit of a stereotype.
Hmm.
But it's directed by Hikari. I thought it was really moving and really great. Also, Chloe Zhao's Hamnet. I want to recommend. Will also destroy you. So I've been this was been a rough emotional week in terms of movies for me because there's just you will cry. You will cry at all these movies for different reasons. Hamlet's fantastic. See them in theaters if you can. I don't think you can for Train Dreams. It may be at the Paris Theater, but it doesn't have a normal release. That's only on Netflix right now. But
I
if you
mean, there may be some other places where you can see it because I mean, I
yeah,
know some people who were able to see Knives Out
yeah.
in like Philadelphia and other places, but
Knives Out had a wider release. Train Dreams, I
yeah,
think, is at IFC too, but again, only New York. Yeah.
I some like movie enthusiast like social media accounts
Mhm.
that I follow say that they saw Train Dreams at maybe some of the festivals.
It
So
was
yeah, I don't know
festivals.
how wide the release is going to be. It seems like Train Dreams is a little bit like that book Stoner. Do you know
Hmm.
what I'm talking about? Like
No, no.
it's a book that was published in 1965 by
Mhm.
this author John Williams, and basically like nothing much happens. It's
Mhm.
just talking about this guy who like becomes a academic, and there's fighting inside the English department where he works, and it was an exercise in seeing if you could encompass an entire life in a novel,
Mhm.
like an ordinary life in a novel, and still make it interesting.
That's basically what it is. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it seems like Train Dreams is doing the same thing there.
It
Like
is. Yeah.
this is an ordinary person's life, and sometimes things don't work out. But man, is it beautiful because they're out in the American West and they're logging when America is still pretty wild
It's
and
also beautifully well made, and I think just like the filmmaking, the craft, everything. It's really on par this year, or in this film. Also, this year has had a bunch of films like this, like the freaking Life of Chuck, which we talked about, and also Here, which is that movie where it's just the camera in one place, starring Tom Hanks.
that's right.
Really, I did not like that movie at all. Really hokey, really cheesy, but conceptually, it's going after the same thing. Anyway,
Hmm.
lots of good stuff to watch this year and this season. I'll have more recommendations for you guys next week because I'm going through so many freaking screeners. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
I don't think we're going to stick around for all that long because it's
Yeah.
12:11 p.m. So we're going to do the end of the episode, and we're just going to leave from there.
Hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. That's the end of the episode. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our former managing editor, Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by me, Ben Ellman. You can find Devindra online at
At Devindra on Blue Sky and a podcast about movies and TV at thefilmcast.com.
send me your perfect encapsulation of a life fiction at Hey Bellman on Blue Sky. Email us at podcast@engadget.com, especially if you're an anime voice actor. We want to know how much you make. Leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts. That includes Spotify.
Thanks, folks. We're out.
Okay, thanks a bunch, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. I see West
Camera
Jack.
switching by me, OBS
Yeah.
by Devindra. Thank you to DPro9. Thank you to Wes Jackson. Thank you to Lucky Dog
Thanks,
Podcast. Thank you to
everybody.
Mark Dell for bridging the huge time gap now that he moved back home.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. You remember stuff that we forget. We bring you in when it's really helpful. It genuinely is helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all so much. I see you, Wes Jackson, every time we bring up Ryan Johnson, The Last Jedi. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Anyway, goodbye, folks.